And welcome to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. No, Alan Shearer today. We've given him a bit of time off because he was so grumpy after the England game the other night.
Yeah, people weren't happy. Guys. It was like, where was the energy? Where was the enthusiasm?
Oh, I don't know what would happen. I think he must come out the wrong side of the bed or something like that. But anyway, what I thought we'd do, because obviously we've had a lot of international football, which we've already covered. We've had a lot of interest and a lot of, love really for a couple of episodes we've done on The Rest is Football La Liga, where on certain weeks, like this week actually, for example, we'd focus on a particular player. And we did one on Lamine Yamal, and we did one this week, which you can still obviously look down our feed and you can find them with Kylian Mbappe. And feedback has been so good that we thought on one of these kind of dead weeks, do something along those lines on this feed on The Rest is Football. So we're going to do a little profile, a little chat on Mo Salah and what an impact he's had in not just Premier League football, but world football, obviously. And firstly, Micah, I mean, what an incredible player he's been, hasn't he?
I think it's the consistency that I admire the most, because how many players have you seen have amazing seasons for 2 or 3 years and then they drop off? But that ceiling is really high that it drops off massively. But with Salah, to be consistent ever since the days at maybe Chelsea when things didn't go, and before that when he was at Basel, he was incredible then. And a lot of people don't seem to remember that. He used to score some really amazing goals back then. But then ever since he's gone to Liverpool, the consistency he's shown has been remarkable, season after season. And another thing with him, he doesn't always have to play well. And we talk as pundits, you as a presenter, Gaz, about moments, big moments in games. And he always seems to take the moment when it's given to him. And that is the difference between Mo Salah, who's obviously really world-class, and someone trying to get to that world-class level.
I had a sit down with him a few years ago, and where we actually put out a kind of relatively short documentary for television on Mo. And his story was quite amazing, that when he was a child, he used to travel about 4 hours one way to train and then 4 hours back to go home. So it shows you the drive. You know, he plays with that smile on his face, doesn't he, most of the time, which I quite enjoy as well, that he really looks like he's enjoying himself. But you can see inside there as well is a real competitor. He's incredibly ambitious, wanting to be successful. And I think if you're prepared to travel 4 hours just to train and then 4 hours back home, will stand you in good stead in terms of that. But you're quite right. He went eventually played in Egypt for a while, where he's obviously from, where he's become obviously a national hero there. But he went to Basel, as you said, and he did start to make a bit of an impact. He was scoring a goal every other game. And obviously then bigger clubs came looking at him, and one of those was Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's probably the one part of his career where it didn't quite happen for him. I think Mourinho also had De Bruyne at a similar sort of time, didn't he? And both of those slipped through the net, didn't they? I'm sure with big regrets from Chelsea's side. I think it was Mourinho in charge at that moment.
Yeah, but I think it is similar to Cole Palmer. At Man City at the time, they had Foden, another one you mentioned, Kevin De Bruyne. And sometimes it's all about timing in football. Kevin De Bruyne's timing wasn't that great because Chelsea was so good at the time. If you look at the midfield, they had, I think that was the era when Fabregas was there, if I remember correctly. H, you'll tell me.
Yes, it was.
If I'm wrong.
He's sticking a thumb up.
Yes. And the way Chelsea played at the time was a little bit, let's use the terminology in the low block, but they had players and whatnot. Didn't quite suit maybe De Bruyne and Salah. I think Salah only played, and I've not looked at any stats here, was it only 13 league games for Chelsea?
That's correct.
I'm on fire, but
Very
absolutely
good,
fine.
Mike. I've got all my research here. 13 goals and only, 2 goals.
Yeah.
He didn't really get much of a look in, did he?
He didn't get much of a look in, and you can't tell how much a player can do in just 13 games. If you look at someone like Wirtz now, who was all really excited by at the start of the season, he's not got going yet, but I know and I believe that he will come very good because he's a top player. He's just going through a little bit of adversity, which all players do at some point in their career. But with Salah, I always knew he would be special because it's just because of one, he can run in behind. All wingers want the ball to their feet. And he was a little bit different and he can do that. I remember a goal he scored at Anfield against Man City a couple of seasons ago when he chopped and went past about 3 players and stuck it in the net. So he's got that, but it was the other side for me, which I really enjoyed about his game and running behind, not afraid to stretch defensives. And I was like, once he gets his confidence, we're going to see the real Mo Salah.
I think the real watershed moment in his career, probably Micah, is that when he was struggling at Chelsea, went out on loan to Fiorentina. And obviously someone in that dressing room had an incredible influence on him.
Of course!
Not only did you nurture him, but you also were his taxi driver, which he did remember when I asked him, and I saw him recently at the Liverpool training ground. What words did you put into him that made him the player that he is today, Mike?
I just said to him, Mo, come on, stop the nonsense. Your confidence
What address do you want me to drive you to?
Your confidence is on the floor at the moment. But listen to me and I'll take you places. No, did I help?
Could you see what he had at Fiorentina?
I saw it in the first training session. That's how good he was. Technically, very good. In Italy at the time, Serie A is a slower pace, so it's more tactical defenders rather than fast defenders. And every opportunity in training, the ball over the top, he would just leave someone for dead and he would put it in the goal. So we knew straight away. His shooting was strange to say the least because he sort of got, and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm giving you what I saw when he was there. Yeah. He doesn't hit the ball cleanly. It's not very clean but he always used to hit the target and the ball used to always go in the net in training.
Yeah. When I did that interview, long form interview with him for the documentary that we did, I asked him about that because it was around this stage, a little bit later, that his goal ratio started to improve. And he sort of commented on that, saying, when I was at Fiorentina, even at Roma, I didn't feel my finishing was quite. And he said he used to practice in the garden with a small goal.
Wow.
So it just shows you how, even at that age, even when you're starting to make a name, that you can still, do extra things that can perhaps make just that slight difference, because that's all it needed. And he's obviously worked on his finishing, and that has become so much more consistent and better
it's been
over
very
the period.
Consistent.
What was he like as a person? A lot of people want to know. He comes over so well, doesn't he? I mean, he's got that infectious smile that he even does when he misses a chance. I mean, he seems quite cheeky. When I've met him, he's got like a little cheeky sense of humour. He likes to take the piss a bit.
He's very confident, but humble at the same time, if that makes sense. So in his head, he's telling himself he's the best player in the world, but he wouldn't say that out loud. So I remember a story in training, and I was just like, you're ridiculous. And it was no disrespect to Fiorentina at the time. We were a top 4 team. The likes of Juventus, Milan, Inter, Napoli to a certain degree were all maybe a little bit better than us at the time, even though we finished 4th that season. But he said, you'll see, I'm going to end up at Liverpool. I've always wanted to play there, and I will be the top goal scorer. And this is not, and you can even ask him, next time you see him or interview him or whatever it is, he was that assured of himself that he just needed an opportunity to show exactly what he could do. And he would never say it in interviews. He would just say it to the lads.
Yeah.
We had a good sort of...
But it really was Liverpool that he said.
Liverpool was a team where he wanted to go. He had his mind set on that, and that's where he wanted to end up. And it was me, Mario Gomez. Do you remember the striker for Bayern? He was at Fiorentina. Marcos Alonso, who we obviously know from Bolton and Chelsea. Marco Marin, who was German international. We had a core group, and Milan Badel, he was Croatian international. And we were the only ones really who spoke English. So you get a little bit closer, and that's where me taking him to training came from. In Florence, everyone pretty much lives in the town centre, and it was only a mile or two away from the centre of training. And he asked me for a lift one time. I got my car sent over from England to Italy because I wanted to drive right and drive.
Because they don't make cars in Italy.
How did I know you were going to say something?
I thought you'd have been straight to the Ferrari garage.
I can't do left hookers. I cannot drive left and drive. I drove one once and I crashed it, so never again. Dear. So I took my car over there, and when I took my car over there, I took him to training once, just one time. And when we leave training, he would just text me saying 8:30. He wouldn't text me saying, can you pick me up tomorrow because I'm going to go in training for XYZ, for physio, whatever. He just texts me 8:30 or 8:15. So every morning, I just used to pick him up. And what struck me was his love for football. He absolutely adores football. He's obsessed. And he was obsessed with numbers. That's why when you see him now talking about numbers, and he sort of laughs it off in interviews at times, but he's there to be the very best. And I know a lot of people say he's a little bit greedy in front of goal, etc., but he cares about individual numbers. And that's why I knew he was going to go on to be a success wherever he went. And he went to Roma, absolutely smashed it there, and then gets his move to Liverpool.
That's when his numbers started to pick up towards the numbers that he latterly achieved at Liverpool. Okay, let's take a little break, Micah. When we come back, we'll discuss, Liverpool really, and his international career. Welcome back to The Rest is Football with Micah Richards and me, Gary Lineker. We're discussing all things Mo Salah. Mohamed Salah, one of the, quite possibly. Well, we can discuss this now because, he's not won a major trophy, obviously, for Egypt in terms of the Africa Cup of Nations or a World Cup, but he did make sure they qualified for the World Cup, and he's done it again this time. They are actually qualified for 2026 World Cup. He's obviously been African Footballer of the Year. Would you say, Micah, that he'd be Africa's greatest player? Just a quick one of those before we move on to Liverpool.
I feel as though for what he's achieved, maybe yes, but I don't think in Africa he would be considered.
Do you not?
Samuel Eto'o.
Eto'o was amazing.
Eto'o was just...
Well, they've had some great... Weir.
George
Weir was incredible. Yeah. Who's the only player actually to win the Ballon d'Or, isn't he? African player was George Weir, I think.
There's another player from Egypt, Gary, who's won it 3 times. Can you remember the name? It was your era.
It might be the guy that's now coaching. Hassan.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Do some people, do you think, in Egypt believe that he was the best ever African player or even best ever Egyptian? But
yes, best ever Egyptian. I think a lot of people would say, especially from going back. Don't forget there's Yaya Toure as well.
There's so many great
what he's achieved.
Didier Drogba.
Drogzilla. Yeah. There's so many. But Eto'o, the way he's...
Sadio Mane, who of course played with for many years at Liverpool.
Correct.
Yeah, another great.
So in terms of the best African footballer, I think...
He's got to be up there in any conversation.
My era, yes, I'll say 100% yes, my era.
Yeah.
Other people would say differently, I think.
When he signed for Liverpool, and it was for 36 million, He became the joint second fastest player to reach 20 goals for Liverpool, and it was only on his 26th appearance, and just behind George Allen, who reached the milestone in 1895. Even I didn't see that one, Micah. But well, it was a success story from the very start, wasn't it? He started scoring immediately. He was banging them in left, right, and centre, and has never really stopped since. Obviously, played in that wonderful forward line. Didn't he, with the aforementioned Sadio Mane and Bobby Firmino, a forward line really that compares favourably with most of, well, any really in Premier League history, I would say.
Yeah, I think, but it was more the balance with that front three, wasn't it? I think Mane had skill, he had pace, could run in behind. Firmino would come really deep and almost sacrifice himself for the team. And then Salah, with his pace and technique on the other side, scored all the goals. And remember that famous fallout between Salah and Mane, just because of the fact that they wanted to reach the potential of their career. And for those sort of players, it's all about the numbers, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
and
that
then
is
they had the
key
final
point.
against each other, didn't we? With the
Correct.
penalty shootout
Yes.
for the African Cup of Nations, yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing team. But another thing about Salah, which I really admire, is the way he's been able to adapt his game a little bit. Yes, he's still quick, but he's not as sharp as he was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But he positions himself in real clever positions on the field where he can still get his shot away. How many times have we had Salah in our fantasy football? And you just think, he's not had a great game. Is he going to get a chance? But he's always there. He's always creates a chance for himself. His movement is just amazing on the field, even when he's not having a good game. But that team you mentioned, yeah, that was a great team to watch.
He's one of that new generation of players that play in a certain position, isn't he? That wasn't a position really when I played, because I don't know whether he'd have converted into one of the nines in old-time football, or he would have been a winger. I suspect he would have changed into one of the nines. But it is interesting how he plays it as well as anybody. And he's had a bit of a slow start to this season. But I suspect that won't last. I think Wirtz will find his feet. I think Liverpool will find their feet. Even they're not doing badly, of course, but they haven't been the team that they were certainly at this stage of last season when they were all guns a-blazing. So I think Salah's also maybe missing Trent Alexander-Arnold a little bit. I mean, who wouldn't? Probably the most creative fullback that we've ever seen in the Premier League. So
can I ask you a question though, please, Gaz?
Yes.
So we've talked about systems a lot, and we talk about the terminologies of football and how players are having to actually adapt. So you played in a 4-4-2, but you also played on the wing. How would you fare in this system with 3 strikers? Would you just be the number 9, or would you be, say, from the left coming on your right foot?
I'd want to be the 9.
You want to be the 9?
It's the way I play. I'm used to playing my back to goal. I love to spin. You can do those things in wide, and I played on the wing for a whole season at Barcelona, and it was frustrating because when you played wide, that was a proper winger as well under the Cruyff system. You wanted that, the white lines on your boots. So it was frustrating because it completely ruined my goal scoring ratio. But I didn't find it very difficult. Just get the ball, go down, cross the ball. That was your job, and then. So I didn't find it particularly challenging, but it was a different role to the one that they now play.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because if you had a striker, sorry to cut you up,
but I wasn't a dribbler, Micah. I wasn't a dribbler.
Yeah, but you had really good pace. So if you had someone who could hold it up, say a Firmino, Bobby Firmino, Liverpool type, and you could make the third man run. You'd get chance after chance. I feel at times we've seen it with Haaland now, and that's why I think what Haaland doing at Man City is remarkable, because he doesn't touch the ball often, but he's always ready.
Well, that's the life as a 9. I think even more so nowadays, probably because of the nature of the wide players, the ones that tend to be the ones that get the ball more. So, yeah, I think I think if you're an out-and-out goal scorer, then you can settle for not getting that many touches of the ball. But I think if you're in those wide positions, you will get more of the ball. But Mo's so good at like going one way and then cutting in onto his left foot. So there are certain players who will have that strength, and other players, I would say, that are better as a 9 because they've got different facets to their game. So, but Mo plays it as well as anyone. His timing of his runs, you've mentioned it already, the way he gets behind defences, I think he does it as well as anyone, really. He doesn't get caught offside very often.
Exactly.
But he times because of the timing. And if he is caught offside, it's generally the fault of the person passing it, I would say, because they don't. Because as forwards, as someone who's played that role, you do know how to run and to beat an offside trap. But what happens sometimes is you have to guess a little bit about when the midfield player, the winger, the fullback, whatever it is going to hit the ball. And then if they suddenly stutter for a second, that screws you up, which was one of the great wind-ups of football that just drove me bonkers most of the time. When you think, hit it now, and then they don't. It's so frustrating.
I think you're a little bit wasted. I know we're going a little bit off topic here, but you've got so much knowledge to pass on to things that we see week in, week out.
Maybe I should do a podcast.
Forward players. Yeah, but if you could be there with a player and just show, and I'm sure all the Premier League team, I've got top coaches, but the difference, with top level strikers, what they're seeing, what they can improve on. I just think the way you explain it, even going back to the Euros, when he got up and he's passionate, it makes a difference,
It's very kind of you to say so. I don't think Mo Salah needs much improving. He's an absolute master of his trade. He's won it all at Liverpool, hasn't he? There's nothing that he's not done. We can go through his numbers. His numbers are obviously quite extraordinary. In 295 games, he scored 186 goals, which is staggering, and countless assists as well. It's amazing, really. He's a true hero at the club, and I think everybody in Liverpool would have breathed a huge sigh of relief when he signed his contract in the summer, because I think the thought of life without Mo, which will have to happen at some point, was just pushed down the road a little bit. Yeah. And I think that probably satisfied everybody.
I think as well, just on that, it's not just what he can do on the field. It's, the connection he has with the fans, which seeing Mo Salah go, and it was similar to Kevin De Bruyne when he left City. I thought he could have definitely done another year at least. So to see Salah tied down, it was great, not only for Liverpool, but great for the league, because you just want the best, or the very best player to be playing week in, week out. And again, I'm going to give him a little bit of praise on, even when things are not going that well, he always manages to bring it back around, and score a goal, get an assist. His mentality is just different to a lot of players I've played with him, and that's what separates him from the rest.
It's quite astonishing, really, as well. Obviously, people have down times in their careers, but he hasn't had many, and specifically with injuries as well. He doesn't. I don't want to jinx him here, and I'll touch wood, but he's so rarely injured. I remember probably two of his down moments in his career would be the final, obviously the Champions League.
Was that Ramos, wasn't it?
Against Real Madrid, when Ramos ripped him down and basically did his shoulder. And then because of that, he struggled to get into the World Cup, didn't he? And he played, but he wasn't his best self. But his fitness levels, obviously we follow him on social media, and he seems to be forever in the gym, and he really looks after himself, doesn't he?
His physique is, and it was very good when he was in Florence at Fiorentina, but I think he's taken it to the next level now. It really has. He looks like some sort of model, doesn't he? He looks like an Adonis. I don't know what he's eating. I don't know what he's doing, but he's looking after himself. Similar to players like the James Milner. I don't know if you've seen him in the gym. Looks really good. And it just shows the players who look after themselves have the longevity, don't they? And that's
what you need.
Another difference.
Bit of self-awareness creeping in there as the mic. Lessons to be learned. Alas, too late.
It's too little, too late.
Right, where do we put Mo Salah in the pantheon of greats in terms of? Let's just go with perhaps the Premier League. He's got to be in the conversation. I mean, he's obviously he's fourth in the Ballon d'Or. Most recently, he's probably gone close in people's thinking on that for many years. He's been the most consistent goal scorer and assist provider over the last few years for Liverpool as well. He has to be up there in the conversation.
It's difficult because if you're Man City fans, you'll say David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Yaya Toure, all the legends at Man United, the Roy Keanes, the Scholeses, even
Wayne Rooney, Thierry Henry for Arsenal,
Even Bergkamp, though. But everyone talks about Henry, and Henry was probably the best ever we've had in the Premier League. Yeah. But Bergkamp, people forget
Steven
about
Gerrard,
Bergkamp.
Paul Scholes.
It goes on and on.
Lampard.
Hazard, John Terry. There's loads.
But we love these conversations. But he's definitely right. He's got to be in the top few. Got to be.
It depends on how you're judging it, because
of course,
if it's to do with longevity, he's got to be in top three because he's that consistent. But if we're doing it, because look at Ronaldo's seasons when he was here, he wasn't in the Premier League that long, but what he did whilst he was here was just breathtaking. So it all depends. But I'm always a little bit biased because I played with him and I got to see it, day in, day out. But he'd have to go in my top three for consistency.
Yeah. He has to be right up there. I mean, it's so difficult because players play in different positions and they have greater success at various clubs. But he's pretty much stuck at Liverpool. Well, certainly in the Premier League, apart from his early spell at Chelsea. But I think he's a wonderful talent, and he's a great example for any young footballers to follow, because he looks after himself properly. He's hugely intelligent and he plays the game with a smile on his face. And I think that's a lovely way to end this episode.
But before you go, Gaz.
Go on.
Who would you put higher, Alan Shearer or Mo Salah? Premier League.
Given how grumpy Shearer's been lately, I'd definitely go Mo Salah.
Me too.
Take that, Al. If he'd have been here, I might have said something different. Yeah. No, wonderful player. It's a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to have watched him over close on 10 years now. He's been a breath of fresh air in football, and so thank you, Mo.
Thank you.
That's it from this episode of The Rest of Football. Hope you've enjoyed it. Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. No Alan this week, so from me, have a great week.
It's Friday.
Is it Friday? You gotta keep that in there. It's Friday, you fucking idiot. I don't know what day it fucking is today. Fuck me.